All right, so to segue off of that a little bit, actually a lot of bit, I'm going to be talking about the concept of loose information. So wild information out there that's just ready and ripe for the picking. So loose information, what exactly is it? Have you ever Googled yourself? Open question. Everyone Googles themselves once a day? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. What about narrowing it down to just your email address to find out, who can find you? You know, or have you ever Googled your license plate? That's kind of fun. For the most part, I get nothing, but thanks to doing some demonstrations here, I'll probably get something here in the near future. So this is kind of how open information creates free-form applications. So I, Shane Spencer, hereby dub searching for license plates as the license plate finder app. Sometimes building an app is redundant to actually using existing tools. This is something that I'm reminded of every time I say, I have such a great app idea. And then people are just like, so you just want to use Google then? Or Twitter or something else like that. And then, that really sunk in. So that's kind of how I started dubbing, loose information. So getting a trend going on how to maintain or manage a certain type of information can be just as useful as actually creating an app to do it. Plus, you don't have to pay for hosting. So, for example, license plates on the web. So you have two license plates. You may not know me, but you know my license plates now. So I drove by you. I'm ERK477. That's my license plate. My wife drove by you. That's RXP90X. She's a P90X coach, so she's all fit and stuff. You could build an app that helps people relate to that information, or you could just use like hashtags on Twitter. How many people have a Twitter account? How many actively use it? How many know what a hashtag is at least? All right. So that's going to make the next few slides a little easier on me. So what exactly makes this loose? So loose information broadcast, basically. I have ERK477 on my truck. My wife, of course, RXP90X. I don't exactly own the light bouncing off my plate, so total analog factor there, but my license plate is there for everybody to see. So anybody can own information containing my license plate just by mentioning it on the internet. I can prepare myself, of course, to receive information relating to my license plate on the web via RSS Atom save searches, like Royce had mentioned, and hopefully understand when that happened. So that's kind of the idea there, is getting people used to doing something in order to understand more about their environment, instead of writing an app and then telling people this is your environment. So the awesome part here is that hashtags, well, with Twitter at least, hashtags were initially not something that Twitter directly supported. Up until recently, hashtags weren't even, were just a simple convention used by Twitter users that they kind of adopted themselves. And then eventually Twitter's like, oh yeah, that's a thing, so we'll just make a search for it. So when you use them, you are participating in some degree to freeform application, like I love steak, as a hashtag. Well, that's your steak app. This is how you know where a good steak is in town. Or something a little bit more in depth, of course. So here's the save search for both of the license plates I just mentioned. I actually did a little testing. Kevin helped out a little. So hey, I was speeding, and Kevin really did not appreciate that. Wow. And then also, I'm flirting with my wife, and she'll never find that in a million years unless she watches this video. So convincing the world that something is a thing. Posting license plates to Twitter as a hashtag is a thing. Now spread the word. All right, so this is a thing. Start doing it. It's fun. There's some gotchas, though. So some of you might be like, yeah, that's not really Alaska-oriented, so should I prepend an AK colon or just an AK, or should I just stick with ERK477 and then hope that everyone can sort out which state everyone's in? There's, of course, a gotcha with that. So there's a lot of room for misinterpretation, and the crowd has to be kind of compatible, and they have to, excuse me, beer. The crowd has to be, of course, compatible. It has to be simple enough that actually, people will think about using it, think about even thinking about it. So another concept here is loose placeholders. This is something we'll be implementing in Docket, and this is something that Coral and I discussed yesterday. Allow the community to tag information, of course, but allow community members to start the registration process for somebody else. This is something that several sites that I've been working on recently, well, not my sites I've been working on, but just working with, have actually been doing. So like signing up somebody under you in some sort of membership system, something like that. It's very neat being able to start up someone's profile, get it going, and then to say, oh yeah, you're already registered. Here, just associate yourself with this. Your email address is already in there, go to town. So that's kind of a loose placeholder for information. As long as somebody can come in later and say, oh, that's actually a thing for me, validate, we're done. I'm talking about you, and you don't even have to be on the site. In fact, this site will continue to relate to you even after you register for the site. So I really like that kind of solution for Docket. And I hope if anyone has any practical experience with this, and of course the legalities of, I'd love to know about it. Here's a fun one. Andrew's probably going to be all about this. Loose information gathering. So wireless network names, SSIDs, and their MAC addresses. They basically broadcast themselves. It's used by many services to help create geographically aware applications. Your home router is actually already on several databases just by people driving by with something on their phones. Scanning, submitting, doing all this stuff. Actually, it's not like they even have to run an app to do it now. Most of the time, Apple and Google are just plain submitting that information to their providers. Organizations have created applications to store and utilize your wireless information passively without any necessary consent. And that's just because you are simply broadcasting something. Have fun not doing that. So let's take this whole concept of wireless access points, MAC addresses. Everyone know what a MAC address is real quick? Say hi. Okay. MAC address is unique to every single network device. Well, potentially unique. Sometimes they foobar it. So you'll end up having my laptop right here. It has a unique MAC address with its wired interface, with its Bluetooth interface, and with its wireless interface. Also, Bluetooth headsets, Bluetooth car phones, or car audio thingies. I don't even know what they call them. Speaker phones. There we go. All of those have unique addresses. They all, every so often, send out a ping, and you can hear it. And home routers, of course, are becoming more and more intelligent and capable of running add-on applications. So this is where I wanted to decide whether or not I wanted to use a very open system or write something that would work kind of at the home level as a community-oriented system. I called it MacTrack. Eventually, it was MacEater, and if you look at it spelled out, it's Maciator, which is not fun. Actually, this reminds me of Damian Hull. He was at the last Indie Infotech, and he had digitaloverload.com, which, when you look at it, is not right. It can be very, very well misinterpreted. So he stopped using that. So I decided to go with MacTrack. It's up on GitHub. It doesn't have a whole lot going for it right now. But of course, that's up to you guys to help out with if you guys really want to. So the core features of this application are going to be an installable agent that works on routers, mobile devices, and computers. That just sits there, scans passively, listens, interfaces with whatever methods are actually being used on the devices in order to understand what's out there. And this is ARP, this is wireless scanning, this is anything. So completely passive scanner. And potentially gives you active feedback. So when I actually come home, or when somebody comes over and visits and they see my access point and they connect to it, it's going to be like, yeah, you're not initially recognized, but since you have a MacTrack account, I'm going to tell you who to contact in order to get a code for this specific network. And they're going to come over to me and I'm going to give it to them, or I'm just going to, on my phone, say, oh yeah, this person's on my network now. Allow. All right, so that's kind of the active feedback that I want to offer through this project, as well as theft tracking, which is actually a very difficult process. But if you can imagine everyone by default downloading DDWRT, OpenWRT, something else like that, that just anonymously sends statistics to the MacTrack server, you could just say, hey, my MAC address was stolen, and then find it within a few days. And then, of course, tracking your boss down wherever he is in your network, which is very important to a lot of people, because there's some sneaky bosses out there. So here's the choice I have to make, is whether to make a dedicated or a completely freeform application. I can utilize loose information gathering, but should I utilize loose information broadcasting instead? Should I just get the core concept out there that Just a simple Python script, Perl script, something else like that running occasionally saying, hey, something new just popped onto my network. I'm just going to send it out to the Twitterverse. It's going to have this hashtag, and that hashtag is going to be this MAC address, and it's going to be awesome. It's that simple. We are abusing the Twitter database completely doing that, but they don't mind. They don't even know. This also, of course, reduces liability on how I would end up handling theft prevention, stuff like that. So I kind of like that, but I wouldn't be too adverse to actually knowing that legal responsibility and then adhering to it. And of course, if it's free-formed, it's not tied to any specific entity, so I don't even have to be an LLC, anything. I'm just, here, this is a concept, go to town. So what are the moral obligations of anybody trying to utilize or protect or whatever loose information? So will Twitter actually remove posts relating to your life somehow? Like if you didn't want it on there? I have no idea. I don't think that's actually something they do. When do you prove that you actually own this? Or, well, how do you prove that you actually own the information if you want it taken down? What exactly do you own other than my name was mentioned and I need it to come down now? Or my license plate was mentioned, here's a photo of it. How do you actually just really prove this stuff to the billions of, on a database full of billions of people? How do you make yourself unique? So that's a very complicated task, and hopefully whoever is creating these applications always build a solution with mitigation of that kind of information in mind so that you can actually deal with it. Loose information is great, but if it starts getting in the way of your client, or well, your customers, then yeah. Henry, stop giggling. So here's some active projects that are using loose information. So Skyhook Wireless, I don't know how many people of you out there knowingly know you use it, but a lot of apps actually end up using this API to submit MAC information to help grow its database and then to eventually find out where you are in the universe. Tenable, this is just an example. There's also, of course, TCP dump, passive network scanning and threat detection, Snort, all sorts of other things like that. They just sit there, they listen, they try to figure out what's going on in the network. One of the most useful programs that I've found is ARP Watch, which just tells me when new ARP, when new ARP data is available on my network. It sends me an email, and then I go like, who the heck is that? Why are they on my network? So I can go ahead and do whatever I want with that. And then Hootsuite, which I was unfamiliar with a month ago, but I'm very excited about now, is an advanced monitoring service, specifically Twitter in this scenario. You can actually subscribe to hashtags, get notifications, the whole deal, which really helps out with what I had mentioned before. And then TinEye, how many of you guys have used tineye.com for anything? It's my favorite thing in the universe. If somebody posts a low-resolution picture of anything on Facebook, you take that URL, you bring it to TinEye, it does a perceptual hash and tries to find something better for you online, or the original. So yeah, memes, just remove all the text, It's like, hey, I actually like the photo behind the meme. All right, so that can be done, and usually at much higher quality. A not-so-loose system that I actually use that I really appreciate is called QUp.com. How many of you guys use QUp?
I was just breaking down the name TinEye. So it's using triangles.
There's a perceptual hash system. I'm not sure if it uses triangles. I think it was TinEye because it was a robotic eye.
Triangulated array network is generally used for
Okay.
I
like it better, yeah. We'll go with that. Yeah, it's triangular irregular network. Okay. QUp.com, formerly Greplin. Anyone actually use that? What you can do with this is, the reason why it's not exactly loose is because you have to associate accounts with it, but it will index all your stuff. I use it to actually index all my old Facebook posts because I've kind of used it as a memo pad. If anyone's my friend on Facebook, you've probably ignored me a few times. But that's where I keep all my stuff. And that's how I say, hey, this stuff's in my head. Get it out. So that's pretty much all I had for you guys. Yes.